App updates. What are they about? How do we do it? And isn't it just as simple as putting the new version in and hitting update? So you want to be a Power BI developer. We can see it cross highlights, fact and dimension. The visual calculations. So we've got time intelligence within there. Let's just get right down to it. Let's start simple. Would that it was so simple, young one. Would that it was so simple. App updates are a real headache, and they will be the bane of your life in so many ways, but they're also something just to be aware of and to recognize that we need to be a bit better and a bit savvy about what we do, okay? The biggest headache that you will ever have with app updates is online version control of Power BI content. It doesn't exist, is the simple way of putting it. And I haven't really seen anything that's going to bring it to the fore or make it work. I know there's stuff saying about GitHub, but I haven't seen GitHub in use properly in an app work. Hopefully, as I say, maybe by the time we publish this, the next update will come through and be, it's all fine. But the key thing that you find and the key issue that you face with thin reports, because of course we've got thin report structure, ideally placed, brilliant, small file sizes, these will work perfectly with GitHub. What an app is not those files. An app seems to be, or is, kind of a clone, locked off, hidden version of them. And what that means is that if people tweak the file that's in the workspace online, which of course they can do, there's a risk that the app is different to what's published. This makes sense when you're going through and saying, well, we're going to promote this at such and such a time. Still a manual step, but we're going. This app goes live on the 1st of the month, for example. We get to 31st of the month. We say 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. We're going to switch over. So update then. That's my last day. My job at the last of the month. That's my last job on the day. Yeah, it's my last job before I go home is to hit update the app. That's fine. The whole piece of not really being able to automate it is still annoying, and I do keep trying to find a better way of doing it, and I haven't really found it. But if there's a difference between those two files, how are we going to reconcile it? And the only way is really side-by-side comparison. So you're going to have to open them and go through side-by-side and check that the app version and the file version are the same. Once you go through and you do that, then you take the file version and you download a copy of that, replace the offline version that you've got in your SharePoint library with version history, because potentially, again, the version that you've got in your offline library in SharePoint is potentially different to the version that's published, or that the version that's up in the workspace, which again, potentially is different to the version that's in the app. It's a real headache, even though it makes sense. But this is just those real world things that you have to think through and understand what you're doing. Go through, do that, make sure you've made those tweaks offline. So Power BI desktop, open up the file in SharePoint, make the changes, save, publish it, which will overwrite what's in the workspace. Go through, do your testing with the workspace version, which again makes sense that the app is different to the workspace, because of course they'd be different. And this way it allows you to still have your customers looking at an app while you're preparing the update. So you can see the method in it for all it is, madness. Okay? We get through, we do that, we do our testing, we tick all the boxes, which again, I would definitely recommend you do your testing cycle. You've got UAT, you've got all that stuff going through. Does this new report tick the right boxes? Quite literally, it does tick. At that point, then we can go through and say, we're going to now update the app and agree the time for that app update that takes place. I would recommend, again, just from practical times of doing it, do the update end of the day in terms of switching over the app, just because you find when the app is updated, it can still take time for caches to clear and for people's version to update. So if you kind of make sure it's gone overnight after a refresh cycle of the data set, they should definitely be getting the new version of the app. But if you say wait till 9 a.m, push it, you can almost guarantee someone went in at 8:55 and is going, I'm looking at the old version of the app, this doesn't work. It isn't right. Okay? So don't do that. Give it plenty of time, let it percolate, as it were, and you'll be fine. And that, my friends, is how we update an app. If any of that sounded like just what's going on. Get in touch. Right? Geordie Consulting, we do that. They've been doing this really since almost Power BI launched. Deep understanding, deep knowledge about what's going on. Get in touch, let us work with you, and we'll help take your business's data journey to the next level.